Hello, everyone. And you know how sometimes in the world of horror, there's something that's about to come out. There's a lot of pre-release hype for something, whether it's a movie, a book, a TV show. And all the early reviews are over-the-top positive. Everything's astounding and amazing. And our hope gets up so high, but then when it comes out sometimes, I've been burned before, I'm sure you have, it just doesn't quite live up to the hype. Well, good news, because the book we're about to discuss today had a lot of pre-hype before its release, pre-release. And man, not only does it live up to the hype, it goes beyond what I was expecting. And man, I can't wait to tell you about it. And well, let's do this right now. All right, so the book we're going to be talking about today is Manhunt by GRETCHEN FELKER-MARTIN. Sometimes I have problems with names of the authors, and I apologize. But GRETCHEN FELKER-MARTIN, the book is called Manhunt. And if you keep your ear to the ground and you're monitoring the horror community, you've probably heard about this book. You've probably seen numerous pre-release reviews. She's been doing interviews. I've read those interviews. I've watched some of the podcasts the author's been on. And I was kind of worried at first because, as I said in my intro, sometimes these things get hyped up beyond what they could ever hope to realize once they come out, just can't live up to that hype. But man, I was excited to get this book, and I finished it last night, and I wanted to do this review last night, but it was just so, the book is so good that after I put it down, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I didn't quite know how to put into words how I feel about this book. That's how good it was. And I'm still not sure. And I want to be sure I get it right. But when you read a book, you take it and make it personal, I think. Like, what is this book about to you compared to maybe what this book was about to me? And so that's what I'm going to tell you about now. Basically, it's a post-apocalyptic book. But in this case, the virus that happened has nothing to do with zombies, werewolves, ghosts, nothing like that. It's called the T-Rex virus. And what it was are parasites that infected a certain portion of the population of the world. And that population happened to be every male that had a certain amount of testosterone in his body. So all the men in the world were turned into wild, savage, feral animals. They run around naked. They roam around on all fours. They're very vicious. They have no morals. They have no right or wrong. They have no sense of, how some people don't want to cross the line. They have no idea where that line is. They're everywhere, and they just kill, they maim, they eat, and they rape anything they can find. They can smell estrogen a mile away. No woman is safe. And like I said, any animal or human that gets in this way, they will rip limb from limb. They will rip them apart. They will eat them on the spot. Imagine this in a world where all the worst traits of men, such as myself, the very worst traits, things maybe that go all the way back to our evolutionary history, were allowed to be let loose with no reservation, no consequences, and just do whatever we want. Think of the most toxic traits of men times 1,000, and then add a little bit more to that. That's what these creatures are. It's very frightening because they're everywhere. So the only people left in the world that aren't infected are transsexuals and cis women. So they are the ones trying to rebuild society because men have no part in it anymore. And this book mainly concerns two trans women. It actually involves a lot of characters, but I don't want to go into too much detail because this is a book I really, really don't want to spoil. But these two women that we start the book out with, and I will say the main characters, if I can use that phrase, named Fran and Beth, they are manhunters. They are two trans women who did not get a chance to fully transition before this outbreak happened. So they are kind of the lost women here. They were never able to fulfill who they were actually meant to be when they were born. And so they have to live with that because now the society has crumbled, and as much as they want it, as much as they desire it, as much as they feel out of place in their own bodies and in the world in general, even in this world, they'll probably never be able to fulfill and be who they were actually born to be. But they are manhunters. And in this world, they need a certain amount of estrogen. Because too much testosterone, and you get infected, and you turn into one of these creatures, one of these feral beasts that were once man. And how do you get that estrogen? Testicles. That's right. If you've heard anything about this book beforehand, you know it has to do with testicles. I mean, look at that cover. You know, I think it's quite clear. And in this world, it's kill or be killed. It's survival every single day, every single night. Whether you're a trans woman or a cis woman, you are never safe in this world. And so what they have to do is hunt these feral men, and kill them and harvest their testicles, which they will then eat, either raw, as we see in one passage in the book, cooked, as we see in another passage, or sometimes taken back to their friend who happens to be a doctor, and this woman will make them estrogen, will make estrogen for them. And I would say that's the basic plot of the book, where there is so much more involved, but in a video of this length, I can't really get into everything I would like to say. Like I said, I have trouble with this review because it's still fresh in my mind, and there's so much going on in this book. But I don't want to spoil it. But it is fantastic. So that's the basic plot, right? These two trans women are hunting these men to get their testicles. And there's a variety of other characters that come into play later in the book, and they serve just as much of the purpose as these two women do. And that's one thing I want to say really good about this book, is that something really good to say about this book. The author has delivered fully developed characters. And yes, while it is a book about trans people, somewhat, that's not all the book is about, but in this world, they play a very significant part. But the author is not preachy. She's not standing on a soapbox. She's not saying, these are the good people, and over here are all the really evil, bad people. All the characters in this book, the main characters, all the characters we meet further on, they are all flawed in many ways. And this author does a great job of fleshing them out throughout the book. We get a sense of their helplessness, hopelessness, their despair, their joy, their love, how they perceive the world, the things that are going on in this in the world the author's created. We get to see all that. We get to experience all that. And yes, it's a very detailed book. The author is unflinching and very visceral when she writes about some of the violence that happens here. Cutting off testicles is going to get a little violent and bloody. However, in this world, like I said, is survive or die, kill or be killed. There is no middle ground. And sometimes I think when people put very descriptive paragraphs about that feature a lot of gore or a lot of sexual stuff, sometimes you get the feeling the author added that just for the effect, to say, ooh, look at me, I'm edgy, look at gore, blood, and all that. But in this case, I don't think that was the purpose of this book, because it fits in this world. Without those descriptions, without those parts that made you kind of go, oh my God, is this really going to happen? Without that, I don't think this world would be fully as realized as it is, because it's all part of who these characters are. It's not just thrown in to give you some gore. It's the world they're living in. This is what they do. This is how they have to survive. And it's a beautifully written book. Yeah, I mean that. I mean, even the gory parts, like I said, she's so detailed and so unflinching when she's going into detail about how these things are accomplished, how these things are done in this world, that you might squeeze your eyes shut, not sure if you want to turn another page, but then you're kind of forced to, because it's just so good. And I will give you a hint. Do not eat a meatball sub while reading this book. You are welcome. And then the end. I got to talk about the end for a minute, because this is where, you have action everywhere. You have big guns, small guns. You have knives. You have machetes. You have weapons galore. There are throats being cut. There are limbs being blown up. There are heads rolling. There's a lot of blood and gore everywhere in this big final scenario. And it's your mind, or at least my mind, was just racing and racing. I mean, you get put mentally through the ringer in this book with all the descriptions and all the very detailed descriptions, and the way this author just puts everything into it. You know, she holds nothing back. And then at the end, it made me sad. It made me cry a little bit, because something happened. I'm not going to say what, but I was just like, wow. I was kind of stunned at that. I truly believe, I know it's only February, not even the end of February. There's a lot more horror to come, but I believe that this book is going to be on all those top 10 lists of the best horror books of 2022 at the end of the year. I really believe that. I know this review does not do it justice, but trust me, you have to get this book and you have to read it, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And then you'll look back in this review and go, wow, he didn't even cover half of it. And like I said, in a video this length, I really can't. And I don't want to give anything away. This book blew me away. It has drama, it has love, it has sex, it has gore, it has helplessness, hopelessness. What more do you want? Because that's the world the author created. That's the world that we are involved in here. And it will put your mind through the ringer. You will be thinking about this book after you put it down. I guarantee you that. So definitely recommend, highly, highly recommend. Pick up this book. You won't be disappointed. I'll leave a link down below. You can get it on Amazon if you want, but it's available everywhere. Whatever you do, just get it. Also down below, there's a link to my Twitter. Follow me on there if you want to. I really hope you do. I'd love to see you. And as always, I want to thank you for taking a little bit of your time and spending it with me. I know everybody's busy, and I appreciate everybody who watches these videos. I love you guys. Stay safe. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.